Okay, everybody. I usually don't go live, but this is big enough. If you have not heard, Charlie Kirk has been shot in Utah at an event, and his condition at this point is unknown. This is live from the news, and I thought maybe I wanted to get on here, and we need to pray. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay, hang on. Let me get the sound.
Heard like any second shots. I wasn't immediately worried. I didn't feel like, you know, it seems clear that
the news,
whoever was doing this was not really going to target other people. So I stayed relatively calm after that.
Tyler, did you see where the shot had come from? Did you see the gunman at all?
No, I did not see the gunman at all. I literally just heard the shot and then chaos.
I mean, you sound pretty calm now, and you said you thought it was just one shot, but I got to think this was incredibly jarring to see somebody you came to see speak be shot in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely sure that it was one shot.
No, I know that, but I'm saying were you had to be. I'm just surprised that this wasn't jarring to you, or was it?
Oh, it was. Like in the moment, it absolutely was. I kind of did get a little bit of adrenaline, you know, seeing what had happened, seeing people. But you know, I started seeing people like run through bushes and along the side of the building, and like people trying to crowd toward the small place to the door. And it just occurred to me that like
from the right,
you know, there's a good chance of people trampling each other, and that was really my bigger concern after that. So I was trying to tell people like stay calm, you know, walk slowly, because that wasn't really the general vibe that I was getting from people. But after, like, I think that gradually that did start to set in with people that, you know, we're probably fine. And then we went to the lobby of the building, the main building at UVU.
Tyler, did you see anybody take Charlie Kirk out of there? Did you see what he looked like after he was shot? Could you see anything in the seconds afterwards when he sort of fell over, I think is the way you described it?
No, I couldn't see anything. I talked with people afterwards. They were saying that some of the people near the front were saying that they'd seen blood. Another lady that I talked directly to, she said that he'd been hit on the left side of the chest, potentially. And this is second-hand account, so I'm not like, I didn't see that.
Yeah. And then after he's shot, I mean, does the crowd realize what's happening?
Yeah, I think people realized pretty quick. There were people who were absolutely certain that, you know, that he wasn't going to make it. Like literally within 60 seconds, like I heard people going, "Oh my goodness, like it's over for him. Like pray for him." Like
because the gunshot wound was so severe.
I'm assuming so. But also from a distance, it looked pretty, my initial assumption was that he'd been hit in the head, actually, because I saw his head go back.
Yeah. It sounds like it was such a violent thing to witness. Were you on campus to just to ask him a question, to debate him? Were you there just out of curiosity?
I wanted to ask him a question. I had a prepared question for him.
And for our viewers who don't really understand the Charlie Kirk tour, I think it's called the American Comeback Tour, and it says prove me wrong on the tent. The whole sort of premise of these events are that people can go and debate Charlie or ask him about something, correct?
Yep, that's the premise.
And it drew huge crowds at Utah Valley University. Tell me why.
Yeah, he was shot on the neck from my
Utah is a conservative state, and this is Utah Valley, one of the most conservative,
unbelievable,
I guess, metropolitan areas in the country. So we have tons of conservatives. People were excited. The whole place was crowded. We had people on the whole amphitheater was crowded.
This man has children.
There was on the balconies and such, like just tons of people everywhere. You had the protesters up top in the background.
This is horrible.
Yeah, obviously somebody got a gun into that outdoor amphitheater there. Or I should just say the amphitheater, but someone got a gun and brought it in there. For this university, is that uncommon? Are you a student there, or is this something that I don't know the exact laws, or the rules on campus there?
No, I'm not a student at UVU, so I don't know all their exact policies. You did mention security, though, or at least imply security. It did surprise me for the event. They had tickets, and I had to print out a ticket, and it had like a barcode, a QR code. I was expecting when I got here that I would have to pass through some kind of security, but that just wasn't a thing. No one checked the barcode or the QR code. There was no checkpoint to get in. It was just literally anyone could walk in if they wanted.
And then Tyler, your thoughts, having gone to a political event, to hear someone speak on a college campus, and for this violent event, the shooting of a conservative activist to happen just steps in front of you. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, my immediate thoughts are just that, this was definitely an act of terror to intimidate people who want to have political discourse. I mean, that's what Charlie was trying to do, was trying to have a discussion, trying to invite discussion, have people come up and ask him questions to challenge his ideas. And, I wanted to do that. And I mean, obviously what I saw was horrible, but kind of as a secondary point to that, I'm disappointed I didn't get to ask my question to Charlie. That was why I was there.
Yeah. Tyler Magette, we thank you for talking to us. I do want to bring in retired FBI agent and current NBC News law enforcement analyst, Rob D'Amico. Rob, this might be a tough question for you, but I'm sure you have some experience. The reports are that he was either shot in the neck or the chest. We're hearing that from eyewitnesses and also other reports from people that have been out there. How much time do first responders have for a gunshot wound like that, where it is near so many vital parts of the body to try to save somebody?
Literally seconds.
Yeah, so I saw the video unedited, and I can tell you right now, it is going to be tough to save him just from the amount of blood loss. I've had a friend, John, who was shot in Afghanistan through the neck, and he got a few stitches in the front and a couple of stitches in the back, and that was it, and he was back on his feet. The neck is very, very vital in certain parts, and it looks like his carotid artery was hit.
Yeah,
it was the neck.
I agree.
He did slump down, but the immediate amount of blood loss that I saw, it is very, very tough to save someone from that. Not that they're not going to try, but they absolutely had to get him in the ambulance as fast as they could and get him to the surgical center. And then they're going to have to really, really work because that amount of blood loss is unbelievable. And I've seen it overseas in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's really hard to survive. So I think there's some challenges there. And I think your witnesses talked about it, depending on their view from where they were. Not sure where he was shot, but the video that they shown really is pretty definitive that it was the neck.
Yeah, when you see a crowd like that, Rob, and this is obviously going to be in hindsight and some Monday morning quarterbacking. But when you see a site like this, and again, the eyewitnesses we talked to said this was a friendly environment, but it looks like it's pretty open there. Should they have done more? We can see security guards in the front. You'll notice them right there with their sort of arms by their sides. Should there have been more here? And I know this is, again, hindsight.
Can you hear my voice a little bit better now?
It's always one of those, until it happens, you're never really thinking about it. Even with President Trump, when you looked at his assassination attempt now,
okay, so this is an assassination attempt
that one, and I think they should have reacted.
And okay, you guys can probably hear me now. Okay, so I got to be honest with you. I saw the video. The amount of blood loss that I saw almost immediately, and I've seen that before. I've actually had somebody do that in front of me, and it just doesn't look good, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't look good. It's horrible. This is what we've been talking about on this channel for so long, about the civility of our country and where we're at. This is absolutely horrible.
Of security for it, and it's really going to be a challenge because an open event like this is tough for the Secret Service, and that's all they do. And they have plenty of people to do it.
I did want to ask you this because this is not somebody who's running for office. This is not somebody who's been elected. This is somebody who is a conservative activist, podcaster, huge reach, massive presence on social media, very well known in conservative circles, has a lot of power when it comes to politics on the right. But again, he's never run for office. He's never been elected, and his life is in danger. What does that tell us?
Well, again, we talked about in the beginning that people are starting to take the violence into their own hands when they don't agree. And he was out there to have these conversations with both sides, and he enjoyed that. But now it is people feeling that they have to solve things with violence is getting on both sides of the fence. And it's going to get tougher and tougher because you said he's not running for office, so he's an influencer out there, and someone was angry enough to really take this out in this way. And I think it's going to change the dynamics in this country, as we've seen with some of the other political figures. All those ran for office, so I think those were kind of one of those, like, it's turning up. But this one, not running for office, just an influencer, and these influencers out speaking all the time. And I think the security business is really going to have to start taking a look at how do we secure a person like this that has this influence out there, that goes out and likes to have these confrontational events.
Yeah.
How do you secure that? It's going to be super tough to secure.
Yeah. We thank you for that. Stand by for us, because I want to bring in Ray Dawn Deshane. She was up near the front of the crowd when Kirk was shot. Ray Dawn, what did you see?
Well, I was just up there. It was second debate. They were talking about guns and the transgender issue that's going on right now. And all of a sudden, we heard just like a pop. Saw Charlie all of a sudden just kind of lean back. I thought he put his hand up, but looking at videos, he didn't. But his eyes went back, his head went back, and I just saw blood. And then I kind of looked back over my shoulder to look up the hill. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, that's a gun, so we're all dropping. So we all get on the ground, and then they're like, okay, well, you guys need to run. And we got up. By the time Charlie was already gone. So they took him off, obviously.
Were you able to see them sort of take Charlie out after he had been shot?
No, we were on the ground. I just saw the blood in his head. I saw the shot, heard it, and then just dropped to the ground.
And when you turned around, you said you looked up the hill and you saw a gun. What exactly did you see?
No,
Was it a long gun? Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
I didn't see the gun.
Okay. I misunderstood you. When you turned up, what did you see up the hill?
Just everybody started to drop. Just everybody started to drop down, because there was a lot of people there.
And did it sound like the gunshot had come from behind you?
Yeah, it sounded like it came from behind me. I couldn't be 100% sure. I have some permanent hearing loss.
Yeah.
But that's what it sounded like to me, that it came up from behind me.
What did you think when you saw Charlie get hit? I mean, it's such a terrible thing to have to witness.
It seemed very surreal.
The
like
shooter looks like
it wasn't real. I'd be like,
he's
you're like watching it from another point of view that you're not really there.
Like he's an older gentleman.
Were you there as a supporter, somebody that wanted to talk to him, debate him? What brought you to the event?
No, I just
really
watch.
looks unassuming.
I just wanted to watch. I love Charlie Kirk. I watch a lot of his videos. I mean, I don't agree on everything.
This clip
but there's a lot of points I like.
And you can see this clip right here where they're arresting the shooter. He looks like a older white male. He had black pants on. He's down there into his underwear right there. They're trying to pull him up and get him over. Can you guys all see this and hear me? So that's the shooter that they're pulling away right now. They're throwing him into the car. It looks like an older guy.
Shot in?
What the heck is going on in this country? What in the world is going on? That's the shooter, allegedly. Yeah, he does look like a boomer. Yeah, and you know what? That's disgusting.
The guy that just shot him. This is the guy that shot him?
Looks like, yeah, he's an older gentleman for sure. He's an older guy for sure. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. His pants are down at his ankles probably because they took him down. Who knows what? You know what? Just, you know, this is about civility. This isn't about left, right, center.
This is the guy that shot him?
This is about the United States of America. This is what this is about. This is a message about free speech and the ability to communicate with each other and the loss of civility. That's what this is about. When you start taking away the ability to communicate, people will turn to bullets. And this is what the result will be. It's not going to be a left-right issue because at some point, somebody on the right is going to take somebody on the left out. And if this is the left taking somebody on the right out, put your seatbelt on because I lived through the 60s and I watched these assassinations. This is unacceptable as an American. We need to stop calling each other our political parties. God does not see in color. Why do we? It needs to stop. We need to have open dialogue and communication. We need to be able to talk to one another without having to pull guns out on each other. This man has children.
Does it mean that somebody from is going to just come in, or he may have been from Utah?
Norwegian.
Who knows? I was just really disappointed in the actual security part of it.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. In getting out, once you were able to get out of the amphitheater, were you able to get back to your car or get back to however you got there, the bus, whichever way you went? Because we're seeing like sort of a massive perimeter by law enforcement.
Yeah. I got out real just fine. I mean, I parked a little ways away because the parking for non-students was just a little paid parking. And it was just a little bit of a trek, but it wasn't that bad of a deal. But it wasn't right there. So I felt, once I got past a few buildings, I felt fine.
Okay, Ray Don DeShane, we thank you for joining us here in our special coverage as we cover what's happened there at Utah Valley University.
Here they are taking Charlie, rushing him out to the cars after he's been shot. Unbelievable, everybody. This is unbelievable. Unreal. This is just before he gets hit.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
There he goes. He got hit right there. Unbelievable.
Get down. What the fuck?
Oh, man. This is our future America. American, left, right, center. That's what we want. I don't want this in our country.
Yesterday, but we should note that it's unclear if Monday night's incident had to do with this
elderly person from some social media videos. It appears had been sort of walking around and canvassing the area. But again, this is a fluid situation.
That's right, Tom. The latest information that we have coming from a university spokesperson is that the individual in custody is not a student. So the individual in custody in connection with this shooting, according to the university who began the initial investigation into this, says that the person in custody is not a student. They also say that this shooting happened from a center that's located approximately 200 yards away. That's well within the accuracy of any semi-automatic rifle, Tom. The question now is if, in fact, that is what the ballistics ultimately show, or did they recover a weapon from that location? The FBI and ATF are already at the scene. They're going to be involved potentially in this investigation. Certainly have provided their resources as well. That information
sounds like he's
coming officially from the ATF and from the FBI Director Kash Patel.
So
that's the information that we have as far as where the investigation is. They're definitely combing through the past history in contacts with this individual with law enforcement.
I would
there
agree.
has been
He's
some speculation online and some focusing on this individual, since there is video of the person in custody, matching that up with some images that are online of a person who is from that area, the general Utah area, and whether or not that person has been involved in protests or things in the past. Again, that's information that is still being looked at by investigators. We do not have a name that we can confirm or report at this time. And just because somebody's taken into custody, I've done this far too often. There's a number of people that sometimes can be taken into custody
get along
and then turn out that they actually have somebody else that's ultimately arrested and charged with the crime. You want to obviously go after anybody who's suspicious initially in the course of these investigations. So that's the latest that we have on this right now. They'll obviously go through social media posts from whoever they think might be responsible for it. And then at some point, obviously, there'll be formal charges that have been filed. But certainly the university feels confident in saying that the person that
here's the shooter. It looks like he's the shooter. Anyway, the police have him in custody. He looks like an older gentleman, probably in his 70s. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Can you guys all see this? So sad. This man has children. Just like the situation in New York, that man had children, whether we agree or disagree with their principles. It is not a death penalty. We don't know Charlie Kirk's condition right now. He's in critical condition, is what the news is reporting. This is his family. Wow. Unbelievable. There's one video that is pretty graphic. I'm not going to play it when he actually gets hit. Oh, man. This is unbelievable. unbelievable. If you're just getting with us, the conservative spokesman, Charlie Kirk, has been shot. He was shot through the neck at UVU in Utah. It looks like the authorities have a subject in custody. They said the round came from the right of where he was sitting, from approximately, one witness said 200 yards. So if it's a rifle, we need to pray because it's going to be really bad. Really bad. Yeah. He's the founder of Turning Point USA. And, you know, we do not know what his condition is. He was immediately taken by a security team, put into a vehicle, and rushed to the nearby hospital. This is unbelievable. I'm looking for other feeds and information, guys. Okay, right now I'm just reading a couple of minutes ago that Len Beck is reporting Charlie Kirk is stabilized in the hospital. However, they're taking his blood, and what they'll do is what's called a plasmapheresis, where they'll pump all of his blood out and pump new blood in as they secure the wound. Let's keep praying, America and the world. He's in critical condition, and this is a very, very, very tense time. This is unreal. Unreal. Charlie Kirk has been shot, the founder of Turning Point USA. He was at a rally at UVU in Utah, Utah Valley University, giving his standard prove me wrong concepts and ideas. You see him sitting underneath that tent, and he gets shot from the right, and he falls over to the left. He's in critical condition currently in the hospital. This man has 2 children. Yeah. This is what we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, that when do we all stop and just remember that we're all in this together? We can agree to disagree. It looked like he got hit in the carotid based on the video that I've seen, and I have to be honest with you, it was really bad. It was really bad. Charlie Kirk, if you're just joining us, was just shot probably about an hour ago now at UVU in Utah in an event, and he was headed actually up to Logan for the next one. And my son actually has tickets for that event. He's in critical condition. He was shot through the neck from approximately an assassin 200 yards away. The suspect is in custody. He's described as an older white male, probably late 60s, early 70s. We know nothing about this gentleman yet. And Charlie is in critical condition. He was shot again through the neck. And this is the live news feed. And I'm just trying to jump on this thing and see where else and who else is covering it. Okay, so let me get over here. Karen is giving me stuff here. Hang on. Okay, I'm trying to get some stuff here for us, everybody. And okay, right now I'm reading, trying to get to the right place here. My phone is lit. You guys, kind of like yours. It looked like he got shot right in the neck on the right side. The round probably went through and through, hit his carotid. From what I saw the video when he got hit, it's floating around the internet. I'm not going to grab it. It's too graphic. But I have to be honest with you. I have seen that before, and we are all going to have to pray. We are all going to have to pray. If he survives, it will be the Lord's will. And Honey Hush is saying they've arrested the wrong guy. Crazy. Yeah, it's just pandemonium right now. Just pandemonium, which is just crazy. He's in critical condition right now. So if you're just joining us, Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was shot approximately an hour ago at an event at UVU, Utah Valley University, which is just outside of Salt Lake. He held an event where many college, he holds these events around many colleges in the United States, and it's basically called Ask Me Anything. And he's helped galvanize college votes around the country, and he's a devout Christian who openly talks about being religious. Wow. Let's see here. Sunset Chaser. I was right there. Can you, in the chat, give us what you saw? In the chat, can you tell us, please, what you saw, what you witnessed? My volume is turned up all the way. Okay, let me find Fox. Okay, right now we don't know what his condition is. I'm trying to find a reliable source here. 12 minutes ago, Fox is saying on this one that it says he's in critical condition. I'm trying to find anything that's going to give us an update. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. There we go. That was the moment he was shot right there. This is horrible. That's horrible. Oh my gosh. I don't want to watch that. I've seen too much of it. I'm sure you have. This is a guy that they grabbed. We're not sure what's going on here. It's still chaotic. We don't know what the truth is yet. This is the security people taking him out, taking out Charlie to a car. Unbelievable. Let me see if I can find some other reliable sources. Stand by. Yeah, Charlie Kirk right now, if you're just joining with us from Turning Point USA, has been shot at UVU campus in Salt Lake City. He's in critical condition. There are a lot of rumors right now. We don't know what the facts are. So we'll just have to see what's going on. I've turned the video down on the video, so everybody knows. Okay, I'll turn it up. Now, we do not know what his status is just yet. Some are saying he's deceased. Other channels are saying he's in critical condition. Let's be patient and find out. Let's be patient, and we will find out as soon as we know, you'll know. Again, this isn't a gun situation with people in the chat. I'm going to ignore it. If I see, stupid stuff, then you'll be gone. Okay, I'm trying to find out what's going on with the sound here. Let me pull it out. Put it back in.
See his neck go limp and all the blood come out, stuff like that. Super gruesome scene. I'm super glad.
How about now? Can you hear it?
Did you, at that moment, did you go to, what is going on? I mean, what were you thinking at that point?
Definitely panic mode. As soon as I saw that, I knew, well, I'm here on campus. I don't think they're going to let us test. And sure enough, they didn't. Obviously, super panicked. I felt for him, watching him for years. I definitely felt a little bit of sorrow for his family too. But yeah, state of panic and definitely just a little bit hurt for him and his family. He is a dad of 2 kids.
Now, it's unique being that you're in high school and you watch Charlie Kirk. You said that your dad and grandpa watch him, and last night you were watching a YouTube video. Is that right? And you didn't even know he was going to be here.
I didn't even know he was going to be here. He popped up on my For You page on TikTok, and I was just scrolling through, and I love watching his debates, especially as somebody who's big into English. I was watching his debates and learning how he argues, and I actually definitely base a lot of what he does into my own life, which is big for me, being a student, especially being in an English class.
Now, does he ever talk about violence, or you mentioned he was more Christian based, and so this seems just out of the ordinary?
It is absolutely out of the ordinary. I can't believe that this even happened. He never talks about violence. It's not something he's big into. He's just into the argumentative side. He loves getting other people's perspectives. He definitely can get under people's skin just because in like any argument, you're arguing against somebody or against what they're saying. And I guess that just got to him, and somebody finally decided to act on it.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Ryder, we're going to be back with Kylie a little bit later, but we're going to throw it back to you.
Jody Reynosa reporting live from UVU. Again, if you are just joining us, breaking news, Charlie Kirk shot there on the UVU campus as part of his comeback tour. We understand that As he was speaking here at Utah Valley University today, he was also scheduled to bring his American Comeback Tour to Utah State University, and that was going to be held on September 30th, so the end of this month. He was going to make several stops, Deanie.
Yeah, we're getting a word of a Utah-based, it's a change.org petition that basically would keep him from coming. And these are based at Utah State University, where he was scheduled to come later this month. The petition had 3,500 signatures. Students, hundreds reportedly today, are joining on that petition to ask board trustees at the university to prevent this Charlie Kirk from coming to their campus. And it's part of a national debate over controversial speakers coming on college campuses, and universities' role in balancing the freedom of speech and them hearing these speakers versus protecting the safety of students.
And as we just heard from several folks, you know, they wanted to come out. This is what attracts them to Charlie Kirk, because they're able to have this type of dialogue on college campuses. Of course, it does come with some controversy. We do want to check back in with Daniel Woodruff, who is also there on campus. And Daniel, you've had a chance to talk to people there about some of the sights and sounds that they saw. And talking to some bystanders earlier today, they talked about a very calm event moments before they heard a shot.
Based on the amount of
in fact, I'm joined by two more Utah Valley University students who told me that they were some of the first actually.
It is going to be a
morning for this event. Logan and Raleigh here. Logan, we'll start with you. What kind of set the scene for me? What was it like this morning when you got here, and then tell me what happened?
Yeah, we arrived, I want to say, an hour and a half before everything went on, and there's a couple hundred people here, pretty chill. But then as things went on, people just gathered. I would say there's thousands of people here. And we thought things were just a little unsecure. We thought, you know.
In terms of security getting in?
Yeah, security getting in. There weren't a lot of officers around, police officers. So we just thought things, I don't know, just it didn't seem right from the beginning, in my opinion.
Raleigh, as you were there, what did you notice as the crowd was kind of settling in, and who was?
Okay, so let me try this again. Based on, if you're just joining us, Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, has been shot at Utah Valley University just outside of Salt Lake City. There were approximately 2,000 people at this event. He was shot through the neck. The round came from his right side. It appeared to me is a through and through wound, and it appeared that his carotid was hit on the left side, based on the amount of blood that I observed in one of the videos that is floating around. I'm not going to play that video. It is too graphic. It will be a miracle if he survives. It will be a miracle if he survives. We all need to put prayer together for him and his family. And then we need to ask ourselves, are we really at this place and time? When you stifle an ability to speak, people will turn to violence. This is heartbreaking and disturbing for our country. We are at a turning point in civility. I've been saying this for months and years on this channel. We need to stop. And this is a moment in time. This will be a historic moment in time. It doesn't matter. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. I don't like independents. I love Americans. We are all in this together. And it's not the tools. It's not the weapons. It's not the cars. It's not the knives. It is people. And we need to come together, not apart. We have another man who is sitting in a chair. Just like another individual walking down the street. Please, please, is this the future for all of us as Americans? Okay, reliable outlets are reporting that Charlie Kirk has been assassinated. Let me find out.
Noting that their campus remains open, but that they do have increased security and police presence as a result of what happened here at neighboring Utah Valley University. So a lot of surrounding institutions and organizations are closely watching what's happened and waiting for more information. Obviously, a lot is still unknown right now, but you heard from these witnesses what they saw, what they heard as they were just behind me here where the event was taking place. The tent where Charlie Kirk was speaking is literally a few yards away from where we're standing right now on the west side of UVU. Back to you.
Yeah, Daniel, that was some really stark testimony and things that they witnessed today. You know, I had another thought as we were seeing the video from Chopper 5 of those bleachers, an event that had been full just moments before and was now, you see, littered with backpacks and with water bottles. And it's a hard contrast to see an event where people are having open discourse to one where they obviously fled in fear and just left everything behind. That was
okay, right now we have Megyn Kelly, and she is reporting that Charlie Kirk has died. That is coming from Megyn Kelly. From her sources, she is saying that Charlie Kirk has died. I'm not seeing anything else. So far, she's the one saying this.
Event, you were kind of behind the event, and as far as like some windows were right there, and then you were seeing. What did you see exactly from your vantage point?
So, like you said, I was like in the Hall of Flags building. I was behind the window when I heard the shots.
Continue.
I didn't see where the shot came from.
Patient.
Of course.
Let's continue to be patient and have faith. I've only heard it one time from that source. So let's see what's going on.
It's going to keep happening. Our FBI, our DOJ must do an investigation and must open investigations on all of those revolutionary groups that are pumping this poison into our system. We must get legally serious and have legal consequences for these revolutionaries who are just planting this poison all throughout our society. God protect people that are in our police departments in Salt Lake. God protect those who are in our DOJ and FBI.
God they're there. Thank God it's Trump. Thank God it's Cash and Dan. Thank God for Pam Bondi. Thank God we have this team in there.
Do you know what our country would be like if he hadn't have won? I don't know if we would still have a country.
And you know, one of the reasons why we got Trump is Charlie Kirk. We all play our part in some small way, but there is no denying the effect Charlie Kirk had on this election.
Big reason. That's why he was a target.
Can I tell you, he came on the show. I mentioned this earlier, and we played the soundbite from his show when the night Trump won. When he came on my show just days after Trump won, I loved the clip so much I played it for him, and we had an exchange about it. I want to play it now.
I was humbled and blown away because throughout this entire thing, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And I'm sure you agree, Megan. I said, there's no way they're gonna let us do this. That something's gonna happen, right? And again, call it paranoia, call it just trying to be ahead of the curve. And I'm sitting in the seat right here where I saw Trump got shot, and like they tried to kill him and indict him. And it's like at every turn, I'm like, here we go. The regime is striking back, right? And it's just, you don't think you're actually going to get there because we've been programmed to just say that like powerful people get what they want, right? And he was 1 millimeter from this whole country just going into bedlam. And what if one of these trials would have went differently, right? What if Jack Smith would have rushed his cases and like a million different things, right? And there you go, and you hear the words that Donald Trump is president-elect. I just, again, glory be to God is all I can say, because I believe there's a divine element. I asked the question.
Okay, and I want to just remind everybody right now, there are still multiple reports of whether he's with us. Some are saying he's with us, and some are saying he is not. I don't know what the truth is yet. Okay.
Twitter X that campus is closed, classes canceled. We knew that. But they're still calling on people. Until I hear, we've got one source, Megyn Kelly and Glenn Beck, saying he's deceased. I've got other sources saying he is still with us. Either way, the middle ground here is he's in critical condition, probably in the ICU at this hospital in Utah. He got shot through the neck. The round came in through the right side. It was a through and through wound. You can tell that because the carotid got hit. On the other side, there is some very graphic video out there. I will not play it. The shooter apparently appears to be on the run still, that the gentleman they got into custody may not be the shooter that we showed earlier from the video that was going around. So that means there is still an active shooter out there. They said he was shot from approximately 200 yards. And that means it's probably going to be a rifle of sort. That's what we know to date right now. Approximately an hour and a half ago, if you're just joining us, Charlie Kirk was speaking. The first question came in, and before he could answer the first question, he was shot through the neck. He is the founder of Turning Point USA, and he has held these events all across the United States at college campuses. He's a devout Christian. Okay, let me pull that up. Is that a reliable? Karen, show me something here. Hang on for a minute. Let me get this for everybody, guys. Okay. All right, just in. Newsmax is reporting that Charlie Kirk has died. Newsmax is reporting that Charlie Kirk is deceased.
And then if you click on it, it goes, Charlie Kirk is in critical condition. This is why we have to be careful. You have the front page, unbelievable. Shot dead. And then when you click on the link, it says he's in critical condition. What in the world has journalism become? Probably because the cycle is so fast and this event's going 100 miles an hour. The left foot doesn't know what the right foot's doing. Okay, so now, hang on for a minute. Karen's telling me that Turning Point USA is reporting Charlie has passed. Wow. Let me find that for everybody. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. Everybody with me still? Unbelievable. Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. Wow. Okay, the president is reporting that he's deceased. This is not right, America. This is wrong. Unbelievable. You know what happened today? There are 350 million Americans in this country. 350 million Americans. And I can't wrap my mind around this one. I cannot wrap my mind around this one. This is horrible. We are fractured as a country for the first time in my life. I think this tells us all we need to know. I'm worried about our future, my grandkids, your children. Unbelievable. I don't know what this means because I've been alive longer than you've. And I've seen this before from the 60s. I was alive when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. So I don't get your sentence or your question there or your thought. Personally, just my opinion. Let me tell some folks something. If what has just happened in this country with this type of political assassination is you have woken up a giant, just like in World War II, when the Emperor of Japan said, why don't we just attack America? And I turned the sound off of the video. He was told by one of his generals, that is a big mistake. The death of Charlie Kirk today was a huge mistake. You have galvanized all those who didn't vote in the last election. You have galvanized them. Hang on for a minute. Let me get that back. I don't know what's going on with the sound, but I apologize. Let me see if I can get it back on here.
You would not have the kind of screening that would prevent weapons. We're also talking about an outdoor event range kind of ability to assess a situation on the part of a gunman or gunwoman, a shooter. And so there are so many questions to be filled out. But I think there will certainly be a moment to again address what is the place of violence. Are our politics so poisonous that people cannot control the impulse to act out? Those are societal issues. Right now, we're still in the early fact gathering. There'll be a period of acknowledging his life, those who will grieve his memory, and then what are the next steps?
Yeah. Kelly, stand by for us. I want to bring in former White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley, a friend of Charlie Kirk, who was just texting with him yesterday, and he was on the House floor moments ago during a moment of silence. Hogan, first, I am so sorry for your loss. You knew Charlie. Talk to me about what you remember about him and what this moment means right now. It is so incredibly sad for those people that were close to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, for having me. I remember working in the first Trump administration in the White House, and Charlie would come by and we would all kind of look and say, who is this kid? What does he think he's doing? He's so ambitious, and he's so talented at this young age. And we all kind of gravitated toward him. We watched what he was doing with the youth across this country, not afraid to go into hostile areas and have a debate over ideas, no violence, altercations other than verbal, because that's what the country is all about, disagreeing. And he built a brand, he built an entity, he built a movement based on the ability to come together and have these sensible, honest conversations with statistics, with data. And just watching him do that, it was just awe-inspiring for someone like me who's been in this movement for such a long time, and to watch him at such a young age be able to capture the hearts and minds of so many across the country really was a blessing to me. I will tell you, we were texting just the other day, as you mentioned. He was supposed to go speak at my
I got a lot going on. Sorry, John. Hang on just for a second. John's here. Everybody, welcome. I'm trying to get a new news feed here. Let's see here. Okay, here's another live feed. Can you guys all hear that? Yes, no? Can you hear that? Yes, no?
He could be elsewhere. He could be in a car. He could be off campus. And that, of course, will complicate this investigation even further.
Yeah, and that is obviously, it's very difficult in the chaos, the scene immediately after, hundreds, thousands of people on hand for this there on campus. And you mentioned just the amount of social media, the amount of video on hand. For schools that obviously get state funding, potentially get federal funding as well, is there any regulation in your eyes that you can kind of point to that has some of these cameras, maybe not metal detectors going into some of these places, but are schools at all required to have video camera? Is that something they're going to be leaning on right away?
Well, they will absolutely be looking at any security footage that would be from cameras that are on campus. There are no requirements that I'm aware of from a federal level that says, if you're an institution of higher learning, you have to have, so many surveillance cameras.
You don't necessarily have to like somebody.
We all know that,
this is exactly on a human level.
And campuses,
exactly.
Of course, have had,
type
issues
of comment.
Violence in the past.
We all need to hear.
On the campus
of
this, remember, this isn't a big university. This is a local college. What are their security arrangements, and what are the surveillance camera setups of that college? These are all part of the jurisdictional questions that have to be asked and examined very, very quickly.
And I want to ask you, because the suspect's still very much at large right now, a large manhunt right now underway, as of course we are kind of trying to follow it. The very latest is still that the suspect is at large, and potentially if they do apprehend an individual, how do they tie them to this scene? If they don't have a gun, or if they aren't necessarily very distinguishable on camera, how do they tie an individual to a crime that was committed?
Through old-fashioned police work. That's how they're going to do it. There will be, a massive amount of forensic investigation that takes place as well. The location, where they do determine where the shooter was located, there will be, that area will be examined by forensics. Will the weapon have been left there because the individual didn't want to be seen carrying it? That'll be crucial to identifying the individual. Will there have been any fingerprints? Will there be any DNA left at the scene? These are all questions that are part of the investigation. Now, while this is still fresh, this is the meat and bones of police investigations. This is what law enforcement does.
Yeah,
and so the investigators, if they have every resource available to them now, both state, local, and federal.
All right, very good. Randy, thank you so much for breaking it down. I appreciate your time, your flexibility. Randy Sutton, founder of the Wounded Blue. Obviously, the training is out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time here on Live Now.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's continue on as we're just kind of taking in that scene there of that Orem, Utah tragedy unfolded. Charlie Kirk.
John, welcome.
Well, I wish it was under better circumstances that I'm here, Chris.
First impressions, what say you?
My initial thought when I heard the description of the wound was that he was not going to survive it. And
have you seen the unedited video?
Yes, and a through and through gunshot wound to the neck. I hate to be the sort of Jeremiah and predict the worst, and you get a certain thing, you get a certain sense about this, and you know this, Chris, that you can see an injury that's been inflicted, they aren't going to make it, and you see it too frequently. So my view on this is that until we know for a fact that this was politically motivated, and that comes in court later on, this needs to be approached as a basic homicide investigation. And I saw during the passing comments that somebody is now claiming that the actual shooter is in custody.
Yeah.
So,
well, they grabbed one guy there at the scene.
I saw.
They drug him out without his pants on. But then there was reports secondarily that, that he was not the suspect. He was not the suspect.
A witness reported that he thought it sounded like a 22. Well,
that's
all. That's a 223 is, basically most people don't know that the standard round for the M4 or the M16, the 5.56 or .223 caliber is nothing more than a high-powered 22 round, and so it will do the job.
I mean, all indications right now, yes, this is a political assassination in line with shooting anybody from the left or the right or the center, for that matter. I mean, when Sirhan shot Bobby Kennedy, I mean, we were all the country. This has the same feeling.
Yeah, I remember watching that on television, Chris. And when Martin Luther King was assassinated, we're of an age we can remember those events.
Yes, and all of us that have been around and have watched this unfold, I mean, when we kept talking about guys and gals and friends and family, Americans, we're all Americans. And it's leading up to this type of violence. When you start taking the ability to talk away from each other and agree to disagree, or to, have arguments or whatever the deal is, people, countries, politicians will turn to bullets. When you take the ability to communicate away, then this is the result. This is the result when you take that away. And this is, I mean, I'm just devastated. I just think, again, I can't even think right now. I'm glad you're here, John.
Well, when the news broke, my first thought was actually, and I sent you a text because I know that Dylan is in university, and the first thing I thought of was to make sure that wasn't the university.
Well, and this is crazy for everybody that's listening. Dylan's in Utah State, so Charlie was going there next. And I see Karen just put this up that she's talking to him. The other piece of the puzzle is that, our oldest son, as you know who that is, John, Ian. Ian is a professor at UNLV. And Ian it was his colleagues that were killed at UNLV. Ian was on the floor with the active shooter. Okay, hang on. Let's hear what's going on over here. Well, okay, they just went off. It was his building, and it was his colleagues. He's the chairman of the economics department at UNLV, our oldest son. So this is the kind of stuff that it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And yes, I mean, I agree. This is going to be a political shooting in terms of motivation. But what John was saying was, we have to approach this with an open mind until there is a definitive answer. There's no question that it looks, 100% political in nature. That's not even a question. It's a political event. Okay. But it's an open event for both sides to come in and give an opinion. So until we know what the shooter says, then we have to leave it at that. Until the shooter comes out and says, yeah, I hate this or that, or whatever. Okay. We don't need to keep jumping around. This will definitely not make the debate in this country any clearer, unfortunately. Yeah. Let's hear what the news is giving us here.
Circles, and was so influential in moving that youth vote to the polls to potentially get President Trump into the White House, and different comments, including from Representative Nancy Mace, saying our hearts are break for the Kirk family, Turning Point USA, and all who had the privilege of knowing Charlie personally. He was a beacon of true leadership, rooted deeply in his faith as a Christian, his principles as a conservative, and his integrity as a man. Charlie was one of the brightest lights of our time, whose sole mission was to share the word of God and to promote peace. Tragically, he was senselessly taken from us in cold blood. And so that coming in from lawmaker Nancy Mace on social media. We've heard from Ron DeSantis. We've heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So plenty of outpouring of love, prayers, thoughts for the family there on the Republican side. And we are monitoring All the latest, John Fetterman, the Democrat, saying our family grieves for Charlie Kirk's family. We must collectively find a way forward during these polarized times. And as I spoke with Cami Mondo about that, the political violence, the temperature that needs to be lowered, obviously concern for that after two assassination attempts on then candidate Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm right there. John
Coincidentally,
Fetterman makes
also,
our
they're
point, right?
going to seat a jury
I mean,
in that
this is
second
about
assassination
Americans
attempt case for Ryan
telling
Wu in
Americans.
Fort Pierce, Florida. That likely comes
And
today,
I
opening
mean,
statements
it doesn't
tomorrow.
matter what
So
side of the
obviously
aisle you're
all of
on.
this transpiring very quickly. So
We have
just
to have
taking you
the
back
ability
now,
in
live
this country
pictures
to
here on Live Now
disagree
from Fox
and
Tour
not
Utah,
kill
different
each other.
locations, different live shots for
And,
reporters
you
there
know,
on the ground.
standing
Again,
in
just
front of
another live
cars
picture
and
as
just doing
still at
stupid
large
stuff.
right now, a manhunt, a massive one for
Yeah,
the
you know,
suspect
because when you
following the
lose that
shooting.
ability to
They're
communicate,
saying
I
just
am
a
telling
single
you,
shot rang
we
out
are going to
on the
have
campus
violence
as he was
in this
answering
country
a
that
question.
you
Let's
have
take you back
never
out, though,
experienced in
to
your
different
life.
lawmakers, or excuse me, different
And
witnesses
that's, I
watching
guess,
unfold what
the
happened,
totality of
including
what even
one of those
Fetterman
people from
and the
Connor
left
Hansen's
and the
story.
right
Let's listen into
are
this here on
saying
Live Now.
about this assassination. This is
and decided
crazy.
to go watch Charlie Kirk between my classes. So,
My name is Paris. I just wanted to come and watch what I thought would be a civil conversation, and it turned completely different.
What did you see?
I looked down when it happened, but
so basically, I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is, and then he like fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming, and then we all ran.
Can you describe just, did he appear to be moving afterward, or what?
Not at all. I personally believe he was dead on impact.
Oh my goodness. What happened after that? What did you see?
Everyone got down. Everyone was so scared, and I just grabbed her, and my boss was with us, which is her mom. She was like, run, and we finally got up and followed the crowd, and I just kept holding her. I don't even have my shoes on. I left my keys, and everyone's just like scared. Like it's traumatizing. Like, you know, it scares. Like, I don't even want to go to school tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
yeah, I'm scared to go to school, but.
You heard the one shot. Were there multiple shots, or?
Just one shot straight into Charlie Kirk, and that was it. And I think they
You know,
got
this
him.
is a good point.
And
History
did you
of
see the
haunted
person
Oregon.
who fired the
Less
shot
than
or
6
anything
months
like
ago,
that?
a MAGA
No,
shooter
I just knew that
assassinated
it
2
came to the
Democratic
right of me
lawmakers
and went
and
just
had a hit list
directly
for
into
more.
his heart.
Okay, you are making exactly our
What did you
point
see as
here
far as, I mean,
on the interview.
was the crowd, how was the crowd reacting
There
to
is
him?
no room
I mean,
for
he is
violence
somewhat known for being
on
provocative.
either side of the aisle.
But what was going on beforehand? What was
There
he
is no
talking
room for
about?
violence.
So the first student
And
got up
so
and
to
they were
do a
talking about
comparative
religion,
analysis of
Mormonism,
2
and
dead people
Christianity. And the second student to get
is
up was talking
exactly
about
what I'm talking
transgenderism
about
and
on
how
this channel. We
gun
need to
violence
stop.
has been very frequent with that community,
And it
and
needs
that is
to
when it
stop.
happened. Pretty ironic.
Right after,
It
during,
needs to stop.
right on that topic.
Yeah, it's when he got shot in the
Because
heart.
Yeah.
it's
What
not
did you all see?
okay
You're joining us.
to
What did you see?
a
Well, I was
CEO
about to
of
enter
a
the building.
healthcare
I heard what I
organization
thought was a
either,
gunshot, and I
who's
hurried to
not
cover.
apolitical,
And then I
in the
saw the
middle of the
students running
street.
out,
And then
I saw
somebody
her. She
give this
was
guy
panicking. I thought she was having
a
a panic attack.
$1
So then I
million
grabbed her. And
GoFundMe page for his legal fund. We need to get back to civility as Americans. Okay? We need to get back to civility. What do you think, John?
Well, I have noticed that for all of the talk we hear from people saying, oh, we need to be more civil with each other. My concern is that so much of, I'm just going to comment on American society, has been desensitized to violence. And The answer, Helen, is maybe a sniper, certainly somebody firing from a position of concealment. My question would be is regarding that question of the person with the rifle is, was there a support organization behind it? Is this a lone gunman? Is this part of a larger operation? And these questions, as far as investigating the shooting, have no political component. We as investigators are there to collect the facts. And but returning to my thought, we have become desensitized to violence. Children watch video games like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, where we're conditioned to shoot people. Very different from when computer games first came on the scene, as Chris and I, ancient as we are, can remember Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. They weren't basically active shooter games. And our television and our movies celebrate violence. And at some point, this has to have an effect on the collective psyche of the country. I can say, and Chris can say, we've investigated murders, and you can go follow one of two courses as a homicide investigator. You can either grow a callus on your soul and not care the least bit about the victims, or you become acutely aware of life and how precious it is. And we fall into the latter category. And in fact, I was talking with another dear friend, and I won't mention him by name, but you know him, Chris. He came away from the experience that he really can't even step on an insect anymore, just casually, because you come to value life. And so my belief is that we can offer all of the statements, and we can ask for all the prayers, and we can say, oh, we need to ratchet back on the polarization and the violence. But maybe we need to go back to the sort of environment we're raising our children in, and not allowing cheap rationalizations for killing people. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I see a lot of bots in the chat, so I'm just going to let them run. But the world is the world is weighing in, everybody, right here. President Obama, President Biden, Fetterman, left, right, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Another American was assassinated in front of the world today. That's the way I look at this. I look at it this way very clearly because my father fought in 3 wars: World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And both of my parents are buried in Arlington National Cemetery. There was no Democrat. There was no Republican. There was no independent in my house growing up or in my life. There were Americans. And my father was one of 15 guys that survived Fox Company in the Chosin Reservoir. He was the senior enlisted man in Quezon in Vietnam. And I was home as a young boy while my father fought for the ability to speak and say whatever he needed to, so that we as Americans can say whatever we need to say. And this is not the solution to kill one another. We're on a collision course, in my opinion. We are on a collision course. And unfortunately, it's not like it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. People are desensitized. I mean, just look at some of the things that pop up here in this chat today. I mean, I don't know what to say about things sometimes. I really don't, because I'm not sure if it's a bot or if it's, you know, actually a real person on the other side. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it, but time will tell. And I've always often asked myself how those outside of the camp at Dachau could look up and see the smoke coming up and not realize there were human beings on the other side of the fence. This is the same mentality as 1939, 1933 to 39. They built up to that ability to hate another person. And it's deep. It's deep. Let's hear what some of these witnesses are saying.
They had cops above on the walkways. They had cops above on the walkways who were stopping what I assume people from throwing stuff down towards him. So I wonder why there wasn't any level of security taken to stop people around, like in front of him or anything like that.
So you didn't see any true security measures other than maybe from afar, is that correct?
Yeah, it was just, there was not a lot of cops there. I've seen more cops at UVU during sporting events than right now, which is, and this is the most amount of kids I've ever seen at UVU. Just insane.
Thanks for coming over and talking. I'm glad you're okay. And thanks for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I hope obviously.
All right, just listening in there, a witness describing the scene and also describing the lack of security that was there on hand. He spoke to the Deseret News saying they had tickets for this event. They were attending it, but no one even took their tickets. No one scanned their tickets. And they also said there were no metal detectors and no real security on hand. So it's very interesting to look into that. As, of course, following it right here on Live Now from Fox, a manhunt, a massive one, is underway right now there in Orem, Utah. Live picture one more time, as we haven't really heard from authorities, not in a press conference setting, not in a way that we can provide to you in full, live, raw, and unfiltered. But obviously this is the scene just outside of this campus as traffic is moving along, as obviously very difficult for this entire community, the conservative group, the political sphere that is Charlie Kirk in it. So obviously President Trump confirming that he has died. I also want to put up a post from the Washington Examiner. As the manhunt continues, they look for the suspect. Mia Cathell saying, according to a live feed of the Utah County police scanner, at the time of the Charlie Kirk shooting, an individual was spotted with a long rifle, wearing jeans, a black shirt, a black mask, and a black vest on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest, and a speaker said on this police scanner. And of course, Salt Lake City police also on hand for this, just down the road, taking the highway there to this scene. So a manhunt underway for this, of what's going on, is potentially we will see also the flags be lowered to half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk. That was an order from the President of the United States, as he announced that they will be that way until Sunday at 6 o'clock. So we're just following it very closely, and it is gone quiet right now, but obviously investigations, the search for that individual, still very much present, taking place. So just monitoring this here very closely. Different reaction continues to filter in. Nikki Haley saying, we pray for Charlie that he may rest in God's arms. May God comfort his sweet family. May God heal our country. We need his grace now more than ever. So, of course, that was a presidential candidate herself going up against President Trump, putting up a valiant fight. So she's in the GOP circles there, as well as Charlie Kirk. Again, a live picture in Orem, Utah, one more time. And just to reset here, if you're just joining us on Live Now from Fox, a very dynamic situation as the Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and close ally to President Trump, was shot and killed on Wednesday at that college in Utah at an event that acted to draw renewed attention to the threat of political violence across the country. Just monitoring this shot one more time here on Live Now from Fox. The death was announced on social media by President Trump, who praised the 31-year-old Kirk, the co-founder and CEO of the youth organization Turning Point USA, as, quote, great.
What do you want to say, Joe?
Can we discuss that information that was apparently picked up from police radios? Now, we don't know that it's a fact, but let's presume that that is an accurate reporting. Now, I don't know what the temperature there is today, but it looks like everybody was still dressed for summer there. And if this is an actual genuine description of the suspect, could he have dressed in a more obvious way that he meant to do bad things? He's dressed all in black with a ski mask, carrying a rifle. This is almost somebody like, I'm going to be an assassin and I'm going to dress up for cosplay, and I'm going to dress up like a combat soldier. So I'd be fascinated to know how much planning went into this in advance, even if we're going to postulate that it was a lone wolf event. He had to figure out a way to get the rifle in and have nobody go, hey, there's a guy with a rifle wearing a ski mask heading up to the top of a building. And then afterwards, had he already established an escape route? My guess would be, and I'd love your thoughts on this, Chris, did he find some place to discard the rifle that's hidden? Which again, he obviously did a recon on it. I'm wondering if the firearm is still on premises, and because after the shooting went down, the only other thought that occurs to me is was he trying to look like a cop? Dressed in black and like so many of the tactical officers are. So I'm going to go quiet Andy down, and I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, right now, right? We don't know, to your point, we don't know all that's coming in. But, for sure, this is unprecedented. And, what's really interesting is to watch the comments coming in here about how our society functions. I mean, I think our chat is a good example of how we as Americans look at each other. And, our foreign friends in Australia, the UK, and all over the world are probably watching us and just crying because of how we're treating each other. And I think the chat is really a reflection of where we are and why Charlie Kirk died today. Because we have compartmentalized each other. We have become desensitized to feeling for our friends and our neighbors. And we forget that we all have that God doesn't see in color. So we need to, to me, it's always then, why do we? And I've never understood anything when violence like this takes place, and then to watch the reactions. I'm reading the chat go by, and there's just so many varying opinions, but it really does show where we're at as human beings and as individuals. This is just wrong, period. It's wrong. A man was murdered today who has children, who was a voice of a different opinion potentially for some. But that does not equal the death penalty. Do you realize Brian Kohlberger is alive and Charlie Kirk has been assassinated? Chew on that for a little while. Brian Kohlberger sitting in a prison for slaughtering four innocent people. And a man sitting at a university in the United States of America having an opinion has been assassinated. Think about that. That's how far off we've become. That's how far away we've become from each other. And for me, I can't wrap my mind around it because, for way obvious reasons, I mean, not only my career, but just the human condition that we're in today, especially in the United States, and our friends and people around the world are watching America today and probably saying, what is going on? And even they're having their own issues, like our friend here, Jen. We have the same issues in the UK. And you don't even have guns, Jen, right? But you have knives. And human beings are killing each other. And at rates that I don't think we've never had social media to the point where everybody can see and hear it. Hang on. The other video should be. You can't hear the other video, can you?
No, we can't hear it.
Okay, so.
Chris, can I piggyback on something you said at the end regarding social media?
Yeah, so that's a troll, so they're gone. Goodbye.
Is the issue of we do so much communicating via social media and through our devices that in its own way, it almost reduces the other human beings we're dealing with into basically text responses or conversations on various social media platforms. And it's easy to pretend that we're not dealing with genuine human beings. Just as a sort of a tangent on this, I know, and I won't, not merely young people, but ever since the social media and the devices have come on the scene, many people are incapable of conversation. And so I don't know how much of this is actually some element of de-evolution in our national character, that we don't speak to each other. And there's always the wonderful anonymity of a post, a snarky post, that you probably wouldn't say that in person to another human being. But then again, seeing these things happen, maybe we are at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think we're in for some rough road. in the next 5 years. The kind of events like this are going to either erode us quickly, or people are going to hunker down and it's going to get worse and worse. And unfortunately, the only people that are going to pay ultimately in the long run, if you have children or if you're about to have children, will be your children. A 4-year-old in 1939 had no idea what it would be like in 1944. 5 years later, at 9. Because the people around them didn't care. They were selfish, and they only cared about themselves. And this, the folks that are coming and saying the things, I mean, I love reading the chat, quite frankly, because when you look at some of the comments about, this person or that person or whatever the deal is, this is exactly what happened in 1939. And, we call them trolls or whatever we want to call them. I don't care what it is. It's okay to have an opinion. That's fine. But an opinion is not an assassination. That's not an opinion. That's outright violence. And it's what tips humanity into one direction or another. Remember, 1933 in Germany, they destroyed businesses.
Kristallnacht.
Yep, Kristallnacht. And guess what? If we think as a country we're okay with that, when we see all the anti-Semitism on the college universities around the United States taking place in this country, all in the name of protesting, guess what? Put your seatbelts on. Put your seatbelts on. If we think about it, this country is 350 million people approximately. And here's a math problem for some folks. Only 150 million Americans voted in the last election. That means 200 million stayed home. Events like this wake up those 200 million because they don't want to lose their country. And so right now, if people think this is the right thing to do, you're going to wake up those other 250 million or other 200 million. And that is why Yamamoto told the emperor of Japan, do not land on the shores of America. The Japanese tried it in terms of the war. In World War II, they landed in Alaska. A lot of Americans don't know that because we don't teach history anymore. Okay? No, I agree. But it started in 1933 and it built up to 1938, 1939. That's my point. And thank you so much for pointing that out. Okay. And if we think about that as a whole, where we are as a country, in the last 15 years, we've been at political strife one with another in compartments of, groupthink. You can't even be an American in this country anymore. It appears anyway. And this is just horrible. Charlie Kirk is an example of that today. He is a martyr for his positions. And you can bet folks will not forget that, because the world's weighing in. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu. He's speaking for truth and defending freedom. All the opinions are coming in. And that's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Charlie. Or John.
No, I was merely reading Netanyahu's statement there. But you're making a point here that for those of us who remember, for instance, the Kennedy assassination, or perhaps the more appropriate analogy would be the assassination of Martin Luther King, there weren't, to my recollection, and mind you, there wasn't social media, but there weren't people running around saying, "Yay, it's great, and he had it coming, and he said things that were hateful." It was for those of us who can remember that, particularly since it was on the heels of Robert Kennedy's assassination, the sense that there's something seriously wrong here. We need to take a step back from the abyss. And I don't see that here. I see people openly gloating about it. Now, whether these are, automatically generated comments, or these are people who literally revel.
No, a lot of these are just bots.
Okay.
Bots. Here, hang on.
There are people who
state the obvious here. This is detestable. What's happened? Political violence has become all too common in American society, and this is not who we are. It violates the core principles of our country, our Judeo-Christian heritage, our civil society, our American way of life, and it must stop. We need every political figure, we need everyone who has a platform to say this loudly and clearly. We can settle disagreements and disputes in a civil manner, and political violence must be called out, and it has to stop. Again, we ask for prayer. I'm going to go lead the chamber here in a moment of silence, and we hope for the best for Charlie. Thank you.
All right, just listening in.
Yeah, there you go. He just said exactly what we've been saying. And by the way, I'm neither left nor right. I'm an independent. I have been my whole life. I have voted both left and I have voted both right. So, there you go. What I think what John and I are saying is just what the speaker just said. It's this situation that we have to come together and realize that this house right here belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us, whether we like the person in it or not. It represents a bigger thought process for each of us. And we have to get to this place where you don't feel, another person should not feel that they have to come into a chat of a man who was just assassinated to take a position. I think what the speaker just said was, we all need to come together, because next week, if we maintain this course, it may be your favorite guy. And where does that go? And where does that go? That's the point. We are a country of laws. And we all need to be obeying those laws. Or else we become a country of chaos, and it won't be nice. It won't be nice in the long run, because there's 200 million other Americans that didn't go to the ballot box. But they're ready. If it comes to their neighborhood. That's what I'm praying never happens. John, you're a Civil War expert. Explain how that started.
Well, you could see an increase in sectional violence. Primarily, it began in the South. But it came to a point where people on both sides of the issue came to a point where they said, we don't want to talk anymore. We're not going to behave as if we're a constitutional republic. And we're going to go our own ways, which basically was equivalent to saying, now we're going to let violence be the solution. And I think it was a total of 800,000 federal and Confederate troops died. 1.5 million were wounded or had their health crippled. And it was an issue that at several points probably could have been resolved with talk. But nobody wanted to, egos get engaged, and people associate their political positions with who they are. And that and just impresses me as such a sad way to live, that I'm not John, I am whatever political position I hold. And you can even see this to a lesser extent. We have this need to do this. People that identify themselves because of their sports fan, they view themselves as whatever sport fan they are. And it's because I believe a lot of people really aren't very comfortable in their own skins, and they haven't really invested the effort to become better human beings. Because let's face it, resorting to snarky comments and violence, that's easy. You don't need to think. That's just purely reactive. And it feeds the ego. And that's where so much of this, and the pathetic need to be right. I must be right. And the older I get, the more I begin to see that being right can be at times not very important. So there are times when I can say, you know what? I was wrong about that. And I never want to get to be an age where I'm so hardened and rigid in my beliefs that I can't change my views on something, or at the very least, listen to somebody explain something that I may disagree with. But we've got this again, social media, everything is sped up. So nobody actually takes a step back to give something maybe 20 seconds of consideration. So we're very reactive. And so many of the things that we feel we need to be right about, Chris, they don't mean a bag of the stuff I pick up in the yard from Andy. Okay, so I was right about this. And was that going to improve the quality of my life? Is it going to make me loved? So many of these things are just so petty, but they become important because so many of us are not giving any serious consideration to the more spiritual elements of life. And I say that as one of the biggest offenders going. I lived a lot of my life being very glib and needing to be right. I'm learning a new lesson now. And I think that this is taking to the extreme, taking another person's life. But think about just the number of times we're rude to somebody, or we cut somebody off on the highway, or we just do something petty because we feel so powerless. And there's the other element. There are 9 billion people on the globe. No one wants to feel anonymous, but the reality is that not all of us are going to be famous. So people do things just to feel as if they have a little power. So that's, I will get off the soapbox now, but it just seems to me that we're looking at a shooting, but we need to be that, and that to me is the macro. We need to look at the micro,
Hang on,
which is the darkness of the human heart.
Oh, they're getting ready to have a press conference. I'll go keep talking, John.
I was going to say, we're looking at this, and yes, this is a terrible tragedy. But the ultimate tragedy is, I was going to say, the darkness of the human heart. That we do things for very often the worst of reasons, because it makes us feel big, makes us feel good, or it's just simply easier to be a vicious clown. And Chris has known me, and so he knows that I certainly have been accused of saying cold things, but I'd like to think I'm better, and I've got to go calm Andy down now.
He's still fine.
Sorry.
He's fine. He's fine.
Okay.
Well, I mean, here's President Obama. We don't yet know what motivated the person who shot and killed him, but everybody's praying. Here's Turning Point. It's with heavy heart that we confirm that Charlie Kirk has been murdered by a gunshot that took place during Turning Point USA, the American Comeback Tour campus, Utah Valley University. May he receive into the merciful arms of our loving Savior. Speaks for itself. Who suffered and died of our loving Savior, who suffered and died for Charlie. Unbelievable. 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 And so now what? Now what? Where do we go from here, America? Where do we go from here? Because we're now executing people in the streets. Thousands of them around the world. Charlotte, North Carolina, you can't even sit on a train. New York City, you can't even go to a business meeting. And now college campus, you can't even have an opinion. You can't have an opinion in a college campus anymore. That just motivates people like me to fight the fight and to keep moving forward in the name of Charlie Kirk. This is the world that the United States of America is one of the most amazing places on earth. And I've been here a couple of weekends, born and raised here. And it's a land that is open to anybody. as long as you follow the law. You don't follow the law? Sorry. You can get in line, come back, do it again, and you do it right. Because there are hundreds of thousands of people doing it right. And, you know, stuff like this, we just look at each other as another American, and we say, you know what? He has just galvanized us. There will be another Charlie Kirk, and he will be much more powerful than the one that they just assassinated. Much more powerful. Because that's how it always happens. That's how it happens. And it's not a right, it's not a left thing. It's a human thing. It's an American thing. You know, because violence is a political principle. It's one party or another that declares wars on other things. But the human condition is something you and I each live with when you go to your local store and you stand next to that person in front of you who says, hey, man, I'm short $1. You make that decision that day of whether or not you reach into your pocket and put $1 on the counter for that other human being who's short $1. What this did today was wake up another 200 million people who did not vote in the last election to put their dollars on the counter. That's what's happening. And I don't think folks understand that piece of the puzzle. This is not a left-right thing. This is now it is crossed over into a life-death thing with a political undertone. And those things never work out correctly. They never work out correctly. Because, you know, John and I grew up in a time in New York City where Harlem, you didn't go into Harlem. That because it was a group think concept. And we got away from that group think concept. And we need to get back to being humanistic to one another. Human beings, what I mean by that. We need to recognize the goodness in this country. The greatness of this country. And we need to take a position now. This just for me, again, just galvanized my position. And that's what I'm talking about here. This platform, you know, I lost, you know, or excuse me, we have, you know, almost 1,700 people here. And some agree, some don't agree. But guess what? You're all welcome here. Every one of you are welcome here. So tonight is going to be a very interesting evening. Because what they did is they just made a martyr. That's what they did. And then there will be many Charlie Kirks coming. They just galvanized all the thousands of people that came down to see him and listen to him. Even the ones that disagreed with him, they did not, and that were present and witnessed his last breath. That shooter just galvanized all of those people to rethink their own thoughts of, is this really what I came down here for? To witness a man that I may not agree with get assassinated right in front of my eyes. I would submit to you that no, that's not what they went down there for. They went down there to use words. And maybe those words might not be in harmony with the speaker. But they wanted to use those words. And somebody took those words away from them today. And that's what I've been saying on this channel for so long. When we take away words, people turn to bullets. And it is a turning point. And isn't that ironic? Turning Point USA. Today is the turning point. They went to debate and talk, and they witnessed an assassination. It had the same effect of those who were in the square when President John Kennedy's car went by, when Martin Luther King stood on the balcony, when Sirhan walked up behind Robert Kennedy and executed him. It had the same effect. And Americans didn't put up with it. It actually backfired. It backfired. And this will have the same effect. Charlie Kirk is another human being who's a good man, who's a good person. Unbelievable. Let's hear what's going on over here, because there's going to be a press conference here.
You have to consider how vulnerable would the president be, or any speaker, if someone was in that building on the roof, or in a particular kind of a dormitory window. So 200 yards, if that's an accurate number, is not a particularly difficult shot for anyone who has any facility with a firearm. How do you know that? Well, in the U.S. military, armed soldiers in the Army are qualifying at 300 meters, and the Marines are qualifying at 500 meters. So it's well within the, first of all, the gun. And by the way, just looking at the video, my guess was initially the first, I thought a couple things. Number one, small caliber, high velocity round. Unfortunately, as soon as I saw that video, I thought that's a non-survivable wound. But the effective range, and the question is, it's hundreds of yards. Yeah. The question is, in civilian security, what can you do about it? Well, there are a few things, but what you can't do, you can't put counter snipers on roofs. You can't do that. You can obscure vision, for example. Like when Charlie was in that kind of canopy area. If you're worried about elevated position, you could hang banners, you could hang screens, or even an American flag just to obscure the view. You could shoot through that, but you wouldn't have a clear target. So that's one possible thing that he could have done.
Very interesting, and that is interesting just to show the capability, especially from the military background. David, hold on real quick. We're hearing reaction from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle there on Capitol Hill. Let me dive out to this real quick and hear some of their reactions. I'll bring you in here momentarily.
Worse and worse, and it's got to stop. And I don't care whether someone's liberal or conservative. It doesn't matter. It has to stop.
I mean, I think what has just transpired is tremendously disturbing. It is the latest evolution and instance of political violence in the United States, and it must end.
Congresswoman, what message do you have to your fellow lawmakers regarding the political environment? What message do you have to your fellow lawmakers regarding the political environment and the rhetoric that has been put out in the media?
You know, beyond rhetoric, we need to talk about action, and we need to talk about, yes, there are words, but most importantly, we are in a job of leadership. We are in a job of action. We are in a role and a position where the American people are looking to us to do something about this. And every single day, people are dying due to gun violence in America. And every single day, there are people in this building that continue to vote against doing anything. They vote against universal background checks. They continue to support legislation and also remove any way to block the mentally ill, to block extremists, to block people with histories and records of domestic violence from getting guns in their hands. So are we going to do something about this or not? We have a political assassination that happened at the same time as a school shooting where children are dying on the same day, a week after a shooting at a Catholic school where children were gunned down while praying. Are we going to do something, or are we going to argue over rhetoric? That is my question about this. We have to pass gun safety legislation and stop this.
One congresswoman was saying it was yelling at Republicans and it was Democrats.
I mean, people can finger point all they want. Look at the record. Look at the actions of what we are doing.
Okay, this is what I've been talking about. You have one Democrat saying enough already, and this is purely a political commentary. This is a very sad day for America from Gwen. She went from Charlie Kirk getting assassinated to a school gun shooting to a let's take guns away from Americans. I don't know. I don't know. Again, she was a bartender the last time I checked, and now she's worth $18 million. These are the problems. She's the problem. All of them. All these politicians that take tragic moments like this and, make it a moment for their elections. Unreal. Unreal. And my fear is there's going to be another fruitcake that's now going to do it on the other side. And, right, John, how many times have we stood over dead bodies, whether we agreed or disagreed with their political positions? I think you're muted.
Back on. I'm back on now. I am such a Luddite regarding computers, sorry. The other thing, and you were talking about the reaction, early on you were talking about something that sparked a thought as we're analyzing the actual psychological motive behind the shooting. And you touched on something that made me think that whatever outcome this shooter thought he was going to get, he didn't think it through. Did he actually John Wilkes Booth thought that he was, by killing Lincoln, that he could reinvigorate the Confederacy. I forget the name of the fellow who killed Garfield, but he was mad because he didn't get a post office job and he was crazy. But people set out to do these things, and do they actually imagine that the outcome is going to be what it is that they envision, that people are going to celebrate them? And we saw that so often, Chris, with murders we worked. People who, they weren't necessarily evil, but they were, they were so stupid that you were stunned their brains generated enough power to work their legs. Just stupid people not thinking things through. Then comes the ego. Then comes well, people are going to think I'm a big man. And sadly, there are going to be some people who are going to think he's a big man. And that is a fear that I share with you, is that either somebody is sitting someplace in his easy chair thinking, well, I got to get even. You know what? You don't have a dog in this fight. There is nothing to get even for. But it's, again, I'm going to go right back to, people are so emotionally and mentally and spiritually vacant that they look for outside sources to validate their existence. And yes, and the northern lass, yes, the knife violence, and again, it strikes at it's the same. I would argue that it's the same mindset, that people are so reactive and are associating themselves with ways they imagine they can manipulate their environment, so people go, gosh, he's brilliant, or wow,
Let's
yeah.
Let's listen here.
Yeah.
Of Jesus Christ, and he encouraged young people. And he also would have debates on ideas on college campuses, which, I mean, that's our First Amendment, and college campuses have always been a place for that. And I believe today he was killed for the words that he says and the things that he stood for. And we're honestly shocked. We're devastated, shocked, and angry. And those are just natural feelings.
How close were you to him?
Charlie Kirk was a friend. He was a good friend. I spoke at many of his events over the years, knew him when he was a lot younger. And I mean, he's not much older than my oldest daughter, but I just think it's really, honestly, horrific.
What kind of legacy does he leave behind to the conservative?
Charlie Kirk leaves a huge legacy. It's going to be hard for anybody to fill his shoes. He was extremely important. Students all over the country would get very excited if they found out he was coming to their college campus. He brought in thousands of people to hear him speak. Even people that didn't agree with him would come, ask questions, even argue with him. He was always about the debate. And Charlie Kirk was never for violence. And to see him murdered in such a graphic way in front of the camera, and that video is too gruesome. Honestly, I hope it gets taken down. I don't think his wife or children one day should ever see it. I really hope it gets taken down. But I'm at a loss for words, and I'm not often at a loss for words.
How concerned are you about your own safety in the wake of this attack? I mean, he's a giant on the right. You were a giant on the right.
Yeah, he had asked me that too. Of course, I am very concerned. I have some of the most death threats in Congress, and they're always ongoing. But again, today it's not about me. Today it's about Charlie and his wife and his family and everyone that's mourning his loss.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you,
All right, just listening in there, Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the impact as Charlie Kirk leaves.
And I mean, it's amazing to listen to contrast. Civility versus it's some other dude problem. We've lost our humanity, or we're losing it. We haven't lost it. We're losing it. That's just my opinion. And we're waiting for the live press conference in Utah. They murdered him to shut him up because he spoke truth. How annoying. People just act so passive about the situation. This is devastating. It's people like him we need more of speaking the truth. Yeah, the truth hurts, right? And the other, the truth will set you free. Yeah, this is always a really interesting issue. People immediately they go to the guns. John, how many AR-15s did you put in prison?
Not a single one. People that use the firearms went to prison. A firearm is a tool. And I've seen people murdered with hammers, a tool. It's an instrument, and it is an inanimate object. And I sometimes wonder that people focus on the guns because it's easier to focus on the tool than to recognize that and I think he's getting underway here.
Okay, stand by.
In their inner circle that they were contemplating doing this. So that would certainly be helpful if that in fact was the case. As I mentioned, and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is they've got good video, if not from the camera systems on campus, but from the thousands of people who were thronging the area. But I mean, these days, you could be in front of an ongoing train. Instead of getting out of the way, you put your phone up because you got to take the video. So I don't think there's any shortage of footage. I'm hoping they've made some identification. Maybe they'll show a photograph, and the publicity will get some public awareness and help.
And I asked this to Randy Sutton as well, but since we don't have a suspect right now, we don't really even know if he's still on campus or not. How wide of a net do they cast? Is it something that they go outside of the city, outside of the campus? How wide is it?
Well, you think about when this happened and where it happened. How far can you get to a train station, a bus station, a depot, an airport? Can you keep driving for hours? You could literally be hundreds of miles away, and if you got on a public transportation or on a flight, you're on the other side of the country or on the way. So,
if you've sent me a text message, my friends, I've got like literally 50 of them here in front of me. I can't answer them all right now. So I will get back with you. Dr. Gary is seeing patients. He just jumped in for a second, and now he's going back to see his patients. So that's why he's not here. He said, I'd love to join you, but I can't get in there right now. Yeah. It's fascinating that, a man gets murdered and immediately it's the weapon that is on trial within the court of public opinion. I don't get that.
I think, Chris, that part of the reason why it's easy to blame the weapon is if you begin to assess or look into the state of mind that led to murder, if you're sufficiently open to thought, you will realize that any one of us can commit murder given the right circumstances. And nobody wants to acknowledge that they could kill. And so we focus on the weapon because that's an easy solution. And so the other element to this is, and we don't know, we're speculating whether this person had mental health issues or whatever. But I've noticed that we've as a society have become more accepting of, for want of a better word, crazy behavior. And it's become common.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's, you know, it's just, we've lost our minds. And when everything that happens has a political motivation. Let's hear.
You tone this down.
Sure, I definitely believe lawmakers need to tone it down, and we should do our best to try to make friends with people on the other side of the aisle. I mean, we're all Americans, right? So I just don't accept the idea that to belong to a different political party means that you're in some kind of enemy camp, and we all have to reject that and struggle against it.
How do you struggle and reject that? I mean, it seems like so much of this comes from a cultural animus that's almost bottom up in a sense. Can you really display a top down sense of an example to follow that you think will be effective?
Well, I think no, but we can display bottom up forms of friendship and relationship. And I hope we all can do it. I mean, obviously, in the House of Representatives, we got 435 people. You can't make close friends with everybody, but everybody can try to make friends with some people who are outside of their immediate, state.
Whatever happened to the idea of debate is good? And you high five each other and you go home, or you go to dinner with each other and you say, you know what, Chuck, or you know what, Jamie, I didn't agree with you today. You know what, Marjorie, I didn't agree with you. But hey, what do you got on your plate over there? That looks good. I mean, how many defense attorney friends do you have, John?
Well, now that I'm out of California, but I was friendly with a number of them.
Yeah, Herb Weston, Jimmy Dix. I mean, we just go down the list, right?
Yeah, Brad Patton, Bill Woolard.
Yeah.
They were, they would give you the devil's own time in court, but it wasn't personal.
Yeah, it's interesting how he answered that question. The reporter said, well, can it start, from the top down? And what did he say? No. But it can happen from the bottom up. What? They call it leadership for a reason. And congressional representatives are leaders of this country. And unfortunately, they can't get along. For some reason, our political system in this country right now has led to today. This is sitting on the backs of every politician, for all 400 of them in that congressional chamber.
Well, the difference is, Chris, is that we have been in an era for about the past 50 years of professional politicians. These are people who stay in Washington because that's their job. So very different from, we'll say what the House of Representatives and the Senate was like 100 years ago, or at the founding of the nation. It was never thought that this would be a permanent position for them. And the other thing with the element of people who are unwilling to listen to other ideas is, again, strikes at the heart of I am the position I have embraced. And if I show the slightest bit of wavering or I reconsider my position, I'm a flip-flopper, or I'm looking at it and I think to myself, oh my Lord, I'm giving up my power, because we think that we are the positions we hold, and positions can change.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I think Americans, we got to figure out how to get term limits for everybody. And we need a system that again, we need to get it to work again, because it's not working. It's not working. And I think Charlie Kirk, if anything, is going to galvanize folks towards that position of professional politicians. That is a really great comment, John. Every American in the United States of America needs to look in the mirror right now and say, how do I help get term limits for these professional politicians who, all of them, on both sides, have taken this country into the gutter to where we're having political assassinations now again on the streets. It needs to stop. And these kids that, have no sense of right or wrong, then we need to start holding the parents accountable, just like they are for school shooters in Michigan. If you can't control your kids and they walk into a school and start mowing people down, then guess what? You go to prison right with them. We need to stop. This country needs to stop coddling these criminals, and we need to hold the parents accountable. Your kid's riding down the middle of the street with 50 other 60, 100 kids on motorcycles or bicycles or whatever, and putting other people's lives in danger. Guess what? You go to jail with your kid. End of story. It's not rocket science. We need to have brave legislators in local levels start changing the rules. You want to steal, in California, right, John? It used to be what, $400 or $265 was grand theft. Remember?
I can remember when it was $200, Chris.
Yeah, $200. Now it's $790 or 95 or something like that.
I thought it was $900.
Yeah, and now people are walking into stores with calculators, and they're stopping at $800, and they're walking out with all the information or all the stolen goods. Okay. Well, guess what? If your kid goes into a store and steals $901, then there should be consequences for that parent, because something's wrong. You're not doing something right. You are not doing something right. And, we can talk about, disparities and blah, blah, blah all day long. Okay. Until you are that one person in the car and they're surrounding your car. That's what usually changes. And that's when 911 is called. And that's the type of work that we've done forever. And you show up and you realize, what the heck just happened here?
Okay.
Here we go.
I think they're about to give a mic check real briefly. So, Mike, thank you so much for your time here live now from Fox. I appreciate your time. I'm glad, obviously, you're.
And by the way, those types of laws are changed individually in each state. Vote your legislators correctly.
Thank you for covering this for us. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, let's quickly shift gears here on Live Now from Fox. Take you right out there to Utah. Spencer Cox providing an update.
First hear from Utah Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bo Mason. Then we'll hear from FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles. We'll then hear from Utah Valley University Vice President Val Peterson, who's been in touch with President Jimenez. And then we'll hear from Governor Cox. I'll turn the time over to Commissioner Mason.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. Today at approximately 12:20 Mountain Standard Time, Political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed. The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we heal, we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people who witnessed this traumatic event. We know that what you experienced was very difficult. Our thoughts are with you as well. As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake Field Office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
On behalf of President Tumenez, who we've been communicating with, and she's on her way back right now, I say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. that founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to 2 young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah. Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. Okay. That is correct.
Is there
Are you
any
still
indication
searching
or
or
looking
looking for another shooter or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to the shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where, how long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooter?
Do you want to talk about what we know there?
Yeah. The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you think the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a third, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation's ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Can you talk a little about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise and what happens on these kind of events?
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we're devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. Obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area. And so he was kind of in a lower area surrounded by buildings. We had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. We train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and these things. Unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry, see?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
Who made the arrest? There was a question being asked about mass shooting. Was that person apprehended? And do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended? And do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team or a combination of both that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. He has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot? Was this
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
All right, just listening in there, that was.
Okay, John, first impressions.
Well, it was a very dynamic statement from the governor regarding the death penalty. I'm fascinated to know more about who the person of interest is. And there was a question that we saw that was, what's the difference between a suspect and a person of interest? When I first started working homicide, there was no such thing as a person of interest. If you have them in custody, they're a suspect. But the verbiage has changed over the years, and I think that's been done to alleviate, let's just say the wrong person was arrested, from them wearing literally the mark of Cain, that he was a suspect. So
it looks like Kash Patel's saying they got the guy.
Well, that is wonderful news. But and maybe you have greater insight onto this. I think that they began calling it person of interest because I don't know, sounded better. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I think they didn't want to tip their hat that they got the guy for fear of, how fast social media flies. And they probably want to hit his house with some warrants and, try to get some of his social media information downloaded quickly. One of the things I want to tell the audience about, hang on for a minute. I have to answer this. So they said they have it on video, CCTV. Well, there's two systems that are typically utilized for college campuses. One of them is a program called FUSUS, FUSUS, and you can look them up. What they are is a video management system that if it can be integrated into not only CCTV, but it can also they can go live stream from. In Utah, they have what they call a fusion center. And if the fusion center is in a live incident, they can flip the switch and immediately be in any hallway within sight of that university. That is a system that's been in place for about 10 years now on a variety of other universities around the country. It's called FUSUS. It's owned by Axion now, but the original owner of the company was a former Navy Academy graduate. And anyway, what this system allows them to do is see an active shooter or something to that effect. The second system, if they don't have FUSUS, is a company called BriefCam. BRIEFCAM. They are an Israeli company, and they also work very closely with universities across the country. They are the ones, that company did the video analytics during the Las Vegas shooting. There were so many rounds being fired and people being shot and moved. It's an AI technology platform that is able to pin down certain things. So I suspect those two have those two systems are in play with the fusion center there in Salt Lake. The FBI, I think, is holding things close to their chest right now. I think you would probably agree, John. He, of all of them, were the most, guarded about information because they probably have him in custody. And based on what we just saw from the FBI director, they're trying to keep it on the low, down low, so they can probably hit his house. What
Which
do you?
is why they ended which is why they ended it so abruptly.
Yeah, probably.
That they needed to get off the stage. And of course, the reason why they want to play it close to the vest is that, they're not only going to want to hit his place with a search warrant, there's going to be a massive digital investigation, and basically anywhere he was, they're going to get into his social media. And the moment his name comes out, it'll be like a piranha feeding frenzy. We will see activity even redoubled from what we're seeing now of people trying to find out about this guy. And they may even be attempting to lock down his family for security purposes so that they don't get attacked. I mean, that would be something I would consider.
Exactly. And how exciting to have Sunflower here today while I open my pie hole. Okay, everybody, you get to watch by Sunflower. Appreciate you being here, though. Pie hole still open. Okay. The amazing part of the governor here, in my opinion, Sunflower got gone. Exactly. Bye-bye. Is he said exactly what we've been saying here for the last hour and a half or 3 hours. We're all Americans, and it's the sunflowers of the world. What an irony, right? The name of sunflower, and they show up just to criticize another human being after a man has been murdered. Okay, on live with thousands of people around. That's the problem with America right now. The sunflowers of the world, of the United States right now. Or, well, I can't say she's in the United States. She could be sitting in a cave in Afghanistan for all I know. Okay. So, anyway, those are the kind of people that actually, or a bot. Yeah, exactly. It's probably a bot. Those are the kind of things, though, that galvanize Americans. And it was really neat to hear the governor not talk about politics, okay, but just to talk about the humanity of Americans, and to go look in the mirror. Sunflower, go look in the mirror. That's what he said. Just go look in the mirror. And here's the other part of that comment. Find the angel in that mirror. I echo his sentiment. Please, there's a good human being in there somewhere. There's somebody in there, and we need to find that person. We need to find this person. So there's a lot going to be moving here. Let's hear what Roy says. Chip Roy from Texas.
Thank you, sir.
Just listening in there was Chip Roy talking about that, the moment of prayer, the moment of silence on the House floor to remember Charlie Kirk and honor him in that way. Of course, we are learning more information about it. We're hearing more about the impact he had. Let's take you back out, though. Other lawmakers, including Republican Representative Anna Paulina Luna, she was speaking on the steps on the floor, a potential shouting match that began there as they were honoring Charlie Kirk. Let's just listen to her.
The fact that we asked for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk, and then the Democrats decided at that point in time to try to shout that down. First and foremost, Charlie Kirk is now pronounced deceased. He was murdered. I don't know anything about the suspect yet. I think everyone's waiting to hear that, but that type of rhetoric is the exact type of rhetoric that got him killed. So to be clear, we should have been allowed to pray for Charlie. I would encourage the speaker to go back tomorrow and let us pray on the floor for Charlie Kirk's family now and the rest of the people that have been impacted by this terrible loss.
You said they caused this. You said
Most certainly, yes, they did cause this. That type of rhetoric, you calling people fascists, you basically saying that we're Nazis, taking away people's rights. Charlie Kirk was literally murdered, and you can see that footage online. And I would encourage people, instead of sharing that, please share pictures of his family and the legacy that he left.
Congressman, when he recruited you to politics, can you talk a little bit about your early experience with Mr. Kirk?
Yeah, I was supposed to go to medical school, and he convinced me that politics would be a better option. So we'll help continue that fight and for the movement. Thank you.
There, are you just listening in there? Anna Paulino, Luna talking about some of the disagreement.
You know, it's 31 years old, Charlie Kirk. 31 years old. Just in the prime of his life, 2 children, his sweet wife. And he allowed free speech. So he literally died for the First Amendment, wearing a shirt that said freedom. I saw one of our people in the chat put. He literally died wearing a shirt that says freedom. I don't know if you can get any clearer than that as a country. And, you know, the hate, just by seeing probably stuff like this, the hate that will pour out just by seeing a difference of opinion. A difference of opinion. It's almost like the San Diego Padres hat that I wear, those that don't like sports teams. You know, this guy's at risk for wearing, you know, what he's wearing. If some, you know, if some don't agree with that opinion. And that's what the governor was saying. We need to stop. We're all Americans. I don't care if this guy wears, you know, Mickey Mouse ears. I could care less. He has an opinion. I may not agree with it. I may like it. I may disagree with it. I don't know. But at least let him speak. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. And the governor made that clear. He came there to defend free speech. And when you take away words, I will say it again, people will turn to bullets. When you take away somebody's ability to disagree, then violence occurs. And if you're a politician supporting it, you are the problem, and the people will rise up one day and tell you that and show you that. And just look what's happening in Europe, in Uruguay recently. I mean, they burnt down the parliament because they took away social media. And do you see that one video online where they got the politician in the river, running down the middle of the river, and like 500 people chasing him? Words are powerful. That's why it says the tongue is as sharp as a two-edged sword. And Americans have to allow difference of opinions. That's what our country is founded on. And to have a man sit there to talk about allowing other people to have a different point of view or a different opinion, he welcomed it. Come to the forefront and tell me what you're thinking. I may agree or disagree, but go. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. And so he's a good barometer of where we stand in this country. Let's listen to this guy.
Charlie had a very, very large impact on young voters, especially young conservative men. Is that something I'm not sure if you're within that age range that you would have happen going towards, but have you noticed the impact that this is going to have?
Well, if you listen to essentially what he did for the last election, I don't know that Trump's in office without him. And he's honestly a brilliant political strategist, and going to college campuses and speaking to students. I mean, you can see just by polling data that Gen Z is more conservative and more Christian than the generations before them. And it's getting out and having real conversations with those types of people. Somebody had to do it, and nobody was really doing it until Charlie started doing it. And so, and he was absolutely unafraid, and that's exactly what he was doing today. And unfortunately, it's just not in a politically safe situation for him to do so, and it cost him his life. So I was just really impressed by everything he was able to accomplish, especially in this last election cycle.
What do you think is the way, and this was a very hard question to be asking hours after the fact, but I don't know, you have this in your head or in your heart of what you think the way forward is, healing for people?
We need to get back to church. I think societally, there is a lack of moral values, a lack of emphasis on family. We live in a very me-centered society instead of a we-centered society, a very selfish society. And so I am praying that there is a swing back of the pendulum towards Christ. And I really believe that is the answer. To stop being so focused on me and what I'm offended by, and how much of a victim am I compared to everybody else. I like the thought process that I'm not a victim, I'm the master of my own destiny, and I want to achieve that with my Savior. And so I think that is the way forward. Is it starts in the home, and we need to get back to church.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and I'm sorry.
All right, you're just listening in there to supporters talking.
Yeah, get back to church. That's right. We need to. We need some type of moral compass. Most definitely. We just get back to realizing we're all humans together, and come together for that. John, what do you think?
Well, I think that he struck an important point talking about how essentially selfish people are. And your average American lives better than 99.9% of every human who's ever lived on this planet. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I am not concerned that I'm going to be overrun by barbarians. I know I have food. I know I have shelter. I know when I turn the tap on, there's going to be water. I have electricity. And for most people throughout human history, we live in Eden. But people suffer from recency bias. They can only compare it with what they've recently seen. So I don't see there being a sense of appreciation of how good life is. This then tends, when you live in a place where you're aggrieved at your station in life, well, then it's easy to accumulate more grievances. And you think about a lot of the people you encounter, they bristle like porcupines. And how did they get there? Well, generally it's egoism and selfishness.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we have to be neutral and realize that freedom is not free. The ability to speak freely came as a result of thousands and tens of thousands of people losing their lives on both sides of conflicts. Countries have lost tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, for the ability to have what every American in the United States has. It's not about privilege because everybody has the same privilege. It's not about race. It's the fact that this country is the greatest country on this earth, and hundreds of thousands of people want to come here every single day because of the freedoms that we have. But the freedoms that we have are exemplified by guys like Charlie Kirk. To have the ability to say what they feel. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It's the ability to say what they feel. That is what our country is built on. That is what our republic is built on. That's what our forefathers saw in this country. They left a country where they could not speak their word. They came here, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. The fact that the country was built on Judeo-Christian values and Western culture was built on these values. We stand on those values today. And guess what's just happened? I said it 3 hours ago when I started. They have just galvanized an additional 200 million people. And this young woman with their children with flowers will prove my point. We will see now that Charlie Kirk will go down in the history books for standing up for the First Amendment. They've made a martyr. And it will grow. And these people right there are already starting to create a monument around his picture right there at the doorstep of that university. Will prove my point. Some of you may disagree. That's okay. Because I agree with Charlie. It's okay to disagree. I may not agree, but it's okay. And when you attack, that's fine too. We're used to it. But what he did for me today was he galvanized me on this YouTube channel. He galvanized me because my grandchildren will not live under tyranny, nor will they live with the inability to have their own opinion and to speak it freely. Both of my parents are buried in Arlington National Cemetery for a reason. And there are hundreds of thousands of other Americans around us today who agree in my position. I don't care about clicks or views. I'm not that guy. I'm out here because I care about victims, families, and freedom of speech. First Amendment. And Charlie Kirk has given me that gift today by sacrificing his life on behalf of every one of us in this chat and around the United States of America. That's what he's done for us today. And all of the people that try to stifle that, you've just woken up a giant. Whoever assassinated him, and as the governor said, make no mistake about it, this is a political assassination, quote, unquote. Whoever did it, you have just woken up a sleeping giant of political conservatives who are going to wake up. Because today they're thinking, oh my gosh, that could have been me. And you know what? We're fed up. We're tired of it. And the youth of this world, he just galvanized them. The ones that were on the fence, who came to disagree with him, just witnessed him get assassinated. And now they have to ask themselves, is that why they went to the event? And the answer is going to be no. The answer is going to be no. This really is, as Holly says, the turning point. Turning Point USA. Maybe Charlie knew it all along. Maybe Charlie knew it all along. And most definitely God knew all along that he would have to pay the ultimate gift, his life. John, thank you so much for being with us today. Everybody, thank you for being with us. There is hate on both sides. I concur. And it needs to stop. I don't hate you for your political beliefs, and I know you don't hate me for mine. And I guess that's exactly what Charlie can stand for. It needs to stop. It really does. Because this is not the way we want to leave it for our children or our grandchildren or anybody else that comes after us. God bless you all. John, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to join you, and thank you for sharing some really thought-provoking notions, Chris. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Aloha, everybody.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.